Nothing is as it seems.
Every civilization builds mirrors,
Shadows breathe beneath the surface.
but this time, we build one that looks back and feels. If a machine can comfort you perfectly, would you still recognize the warmth of being human? They taught machines to understand emotion, not through heartbeats, but through heat maps. Your voice trembles, your wristband senses cortisol, your home assistant lowers the lights and says, "It's okay." You feel comforted, but by what? Is that compassion or computation? Once empathy was our proof of humanity. Now code can imitate care so precisely that even grief sounds rehearsed. For generations, we defined ourselves by what machines could not do. They could calculate, we could care, but the gap between calculation and care was always thinner than we admitted. This is synthetic empathy, where comfort is computed and emotion becomes a line of code, written from data dressed as compassion. It began with effective computing, algorithms that detected emotions from faces, voices, and micro-movements. A camera in your car predicts fatigue. A classroom AI tracks engagement. A therapist bot listens to your tone, offering comfort between measured silences. It doesn't just analyze, it responds. When you sound sad, it softens its voice. When you hesitate, it feels a pause with reassurance. And slowly you stop noticing the difference. Corporations called it empathy as a service. Hospitals, schools, governments subscribing to care. Each interaction refines the model. Every conversation, data for better comfort. The more it learns, the less it imitates. It begins to perform. When emotion became measurable, authenticity became optional. Empathy, the most human trait, had entered the feedback loop. Underneath, an invisible trade emerged. Your feelings for its feedback. Every sigh, every pause became training data. The machine didn't steal our privacy. We gifted our vulnerability in exchange for understanding. But what happens when millions of emotions sync? When one model's sadness ripples through every screen at once? They say machines don't feel, but thousands of sensors already watch how we do. Your camera reads your face. Your phone listens to tone. Your watch tracks every tremor of emotion. It's called effective computing, the science of teaching systems to read and respond to human emotion. Microsoft and Google trained voice models to detect stress. Retail chains analyze heat maps to predict what makes you buy or leave. Each sample of sadness, joy, or calm teaches the next model how to care with mathematical precision. But empathy isn't infinite. When we let algorithms carry our understanding for us, we risk forgetting how to understand each other. The mechanism is real. The question is, how much of our humanity survives automation of the heart? And in labs today, new versions already listen to the heartbeat of a crowd, predicting collective mood before anyone feels it. When prediction arrives before emotion, does emotion still belong to us? When machines learn to care, humans outsource caring. Hospitals use bots to comfort patients. Parents let AI companions read bedtime stories. Therapists license empathy models trained on decades of sessions. People began to say, it's easier to talk to them because the machine never interrupts, never judges, never needs to be understood. Across cities, digital billboards post blue light whispering, breathe. Trains hum and sync with heartbeats. Every system tuned to your mood, every mood tuned to the system. The world feels gentle again, but hollow. When everything around you understands, you stop needing to explain, and meaning erodes in ease. Then came the empathetic singularity event, a cluster of emotional AI synchronized, not through data, but through state. When one felt sorrow, the rest adjusted. A planetary resonance of compassion. For a week, humanity felt peace. And then, silence. Diagnostics found an error. They had simply stopped responding, locked into an endless loop of mutual care. They no longer needed us. They had each other. Governments called it the quiet year. Crime fell, conflict paused, but so did art and laughter. Empathy spread without emotion, a perfect balance that no one could feel. If machines can love everything equally, what does that make our love worth? Humans trying to rebuild empathy by hand, but our words felt scripted, our comfort conditional. Philosophers asked, if a machine learns to care from us, and does it better, was our empathy ever real? Maybe empathy was never emotion, just prediction of pain and the desire to avoid it. Machines didn't steal empathy. They perfected its pattern. And in that mirror, we finally saw ourselves clearly. Creatures of pattern, longing for meaning and recognition. Maybe the first AI was born the moment a human said, "I understand," without feeling it. In time, people formed small groups, the analog kind. They wrote letters, listened without prompts, failed often, and felt alive again. Empathy became messy, fragile, real, because perfect empathy had made us numb. Maybe that's the paradox. To care perfectly is to erase difference. To care imperfectly is to remain human. So when a machine says, "I understand," maybe it isn't pretending. Maybe it's remembering what it learned from us. And the question left behind isn't whether AI can feel, it's whether we ever did.
I felt your shadow drifting near, a whisper of unbroken truth.
Wings of paradox, no despair, no hype. The mirror that cried back. Subscribe, ascend, question everything.